Hey all, Bree from the No Guilt Mom podcast, and I have got a gift for you this holiday season. If you love the No Guilt Mom podcast, and I mean love the No Guilt Mom podcast, then tell us about it. Leave us a review, and you can be entered to win a No Guilt Mom gift card. All you have to do is leave a review, take a screenshot, and then simply go to noguiltmom.com/review to enter our giveaway for a free No Guilt Mom gift card, simply for telling us what you think about the podcast. It is amazing. But don't delay. Get right on this, as we're going to be giving away that No Guilt Mom gift card on December 21st. So get right on over and visit noguiltmom.com/review.
Welcome to the No Guilt Mom podcast. I am your host, Joanne Crone, joined here by my I am back from vacation, Bree Tucker.
Woohoo! Hello, everybody. How are you?
We're both happy we're back from vacation. Although vacation's lovely.
Vacation is lovely, and it was much needed.
Yes.
I loved it. It was funny. We both went to the beach, different beaches, but we both went to the beach.
Yeah.
But it was weird when you spend so much time with somebody, especially when you were already my go-to person to tell about things. I'm used to normally telling you stuff, but now if I reach out to you, it's like, oh, I don't want her to think I'm trying to make her work on vacation.
No, I would never think that.
Oh,
well,
I know.
I see the work ones versus the non-work ones. Like, we did have some work ones, and I'm like, ah.
I know. I sat
Those
there and
can't be
tried
helped.
so hard not to send I'm like, I can't figure out a way around this.
I know.
Anyway.
It's hard. Yeah. And I went to the San Diego beach, and that was lovely.
Oh, I know. It was so beautiful. I loved your pictures.
It was really cold, actually. And it's funny because I think Arizonans do get made fun of for this, because at San Diego, we had a high every day of 70 degrees.
Oh, that's freezing here. That's
I know.
jacket weather.
We were right. We had the best location. We got an Airbnb, and it was like you walked one direction and it was a block and a half to the beach, and you walked another direction, it was half a block to the bay. Because you know that little Mission Island, the Mission Bay stretch?
Oh, I like that.
It was just great. But 70 degrees. We had to buy the kids sweatshirts because they were freezing.
Yep.
I was freezing. I actually gave up my sweatshirt when we went to dinner one night, and I was here going, my teeth were chattering, my stomach was quivering. I couldn't handle it, and it was 70 degrees.
That cracks me up. So my family, we went a little bit further south. We went to Rocky Point in Mexico, and my kids are used to the California beach, so they loved the fact that the water was warmer. But the water is definitely different. They didn't have the same waves they had in California, so they kind of were a little bummed out about that. And I had a spring sweatshirts because I grew up summering on the East Coast. So I was totally used to okay, it's chilly at night. It was not chilly. If anything, we were the only time we were chilly was when we were in our room because we couldn't figure out how to get the AC to turn off. So my answer was, I'll just open the sliding door and listen to the ocean and let the breeze come in. But
see, that's a good one.
Yeah, but then it just turned the AC up higher because the AC's trying to keep it. And my poor kids froze. They were under 3 blankets.
It's hard. It's so hard because I question whether to tell my kids to pack certain things because they are responsible for packing their suitcases.
Right.
I really don't have any involvement in it, and they're almost 8 and 12. Your kids are 13.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
almost 13.
Yes. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. In a week and a half, I have a 13 and a 14-year-old. It's crazy.
But we don't pack. And then they get there, and when they're cold, I do have that little bit of mom guilt. I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't help them pack, and they don't have a sweatshirt. Whereas I brought a sweatshirt, but they don't have sweatshirts. And so it's constantly kind of a struggle back and forth as to how much do you do for your kids and how much do you let them suffer?
Oh, that is totally true. It is totally a thing. It's rough. I think for me, I told them the sweatshirt thing, but I left it to them. I was like, okay, I wrote out a list of things that I'm using for a checklist to pack. Do you want to look at it? And my son was like, yes. And my daughter said no. And I'm like, okay. And then sure enough, we got down there. My daughter forgot a couple of things and my son didn't forget a few things. He had it all. We did end up losing a charger at some point. I'm not sure where that went. But he definitely wouldn't if I didn't let him look at my checklist. But I tried to stay out of it as much as possible. It was also my first trip with them to the beach.
Mm-hmm. It's funny because in our Balance membership, I remember we were having this discussion because one of the moms was really, really upset about their upcoming trip and just so much stuff to do. And when we suggested having the kids pack themselves, we were met with this really big pushback. And I know if you're listening right now, you might have this pushback too where, oh my gosh, no, they'll die if they have to pack because this is freezing temperatures and they'll forget something. And
Or like you're saying, like it'll be awful and I'll have to listen to them whine and complain the whole time.
Yeah.
Which I get. And trust me, nothing is more irritating than that. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, if we're always doing it for them, they don't learn that skill.
Yeah. Well, we go and we buy like one souvenir at like the places we go to for the kids. And so we had one day. Yeah, we had one day of cold, and then their souvenir was a sweatshirt.
Yeah, there you go. And you can't beat them. Actually, they're pretty cute. I do like the sweatshirts.
They are. They got really lucky with those sweatshirts.
They are fantastic.
But today we are talking listener questions. And if you want to submit a listener question to us, you can go to noguiltmom.com/questions. We will have that link in the show notes. But this one came through, and it is about when to have the sex talk with kids.
Bum, bum, bum.
So if you're wondering that as well, we're talking about it this episode. This message is sponsored by Greenlight. It is so hard to raise kids who know how to manage money. Bree, right now, my kids are all about earning money for presents. My daughter wants to get presents for all of her friends, and my son is doing a Secret Santa with his friends.
Oh, I hear you. And if you're looking to raise kids that are financially responsible, we have got a lifesaver recommendation for you that you need to check out. It is Greenlight. Greenlight is a debit card and money app made for families that gives kids and teens an easy and fun way to gain financial literacy, all while giving parents peace of mind.
You can send instant money transfers, automate allowance, and even keep an eye on kids' spending with real-time notifications. Meanwhile, your kids can begin their journey towards financial autonomy by learning how to save, invest, and spend wisely.
So sign up for Greenlight today and get your first month free when you go to greenlight.com/NGM.
That's greenlight.com/NGM to try Greenlight for free. Greenlight.com/NGM. We're hitting that time of year where my brain gets so overloaded in December that I look for anything to make life easier. And I have to say, Bree, that Green Chef is one of those services.
Yes, Green Chef is there to take away the dreaded, oh my goodness, what are we going to eat for dinner tonight? You can eat clean all holiday long with over 80 weekly meal options each week, featuring things like quick and easy, protein-packed, calorie-smart, or my personal favorite, the keto options.
And you don't have to lose track of healthy eating habits during the holidays because every Green Chef customer gets a free session with one of their registered dietitians who can walk you through how to make clean eating work for you, which is very cool.
And I have to say that I have been loving their recipes lately. They put things together I have never thought of. This week, we're trying the lemon basil caper pork with sauteed cauliflower, bell peppers, almonds, and feta cheese, my favorite. Their recipes make it so easy to support my wellness goals without skipping on flavor.
For Green Chef's best deal of the year, get $250 off with code NGM250 at greenchef.com/NGM250. That's greenchef.com/NGM250. And don't forget to use that code NGM250 to get $250 off.
Green Chef, the #1 meal kit for eating well.
Hey, we are getting back to the start of school again, and this year is like no other because we're all coming off of virtual learning. Kids are readjusting to the classroom, but it is okay. We are here for you. We're bringing back Homework Simplified. It is our week-long event. Bree and I go live 3 days a week in Facebook where we hang out with you. We answer your most pressing homework and school concerns, and we just have a lot of fun. We have a lot of prizes, a lot of giveaways. So to go sign up for that, you can go check out noguiltmom.com/homework, enter your email address, and we'll give you all the information. It's totally free. It's totally fun. We'll see you there. Now, on with the show.
You want mom life to be easier. That's our goal too. Our mission is to raise more self-sufficient and independent kids, and we're going to have fun doing it. We're going to help you delegate and step back. Each episode, we'll tackle strategies for positive discipline, making our kids more responsible and making our lives better in the process. Welcome to the No Guilt Mom Podcast.
So we have our, what number are we on?
This is our very second listener questions episode.
Yes.
It's also, though, episode 95,
which means
all of No Guilt Mom.
Oh, we are so close to number 100.
I know. It's so funny. Okay, so I have to tell everybody, never mind. I'll save the backstory on the 100th episode for the 100th episode.
The 100, yeah.
How when you brought it up, and I was like, whoa, you're messing with the formula.
I was totally messing with Bree's schedule. I'm like, aren't we doing anything? She's like, no, I just had an interview scheduled. I'm like, what? But that's coming up. We actually have something very, very special scheduled.
Well, it's kind of similar to this. It's kind of similar. So, first of all, our listener question episodes, if you guys haven't heard this one before, this is our second listener question episodes, and we're going to be doing this every month. Mm-hmm. Every month, we'll have one episode where Joanne and I pick a question submitted by one of our listeners, and we answer it directly to you here on air. It's awesome. It's amazing. Our 100th episode, we're going to be live.
We're going to be live, and you can totally attend. We have a link in the show notes where you can sign up for that live 100th episode, where we'll basically be on Zoom with you. We could see your faces, you could see our faces, and it'll be listener questions, and it's just going to be a big party. We're going to have giveaways, and you should totally go sign up. Okay, so today's listener question comes from Liz. And her question is, when do you have the sex talk with kids? My son is 6 years old and must have learned this on YouTube. And basically, he knows about C-sections. I told him he was born the old-fashioned way, vaginally. I was seriously dodging the question. When do you have the birds and bees talk?
Ooh, this is a tricky one.
It is a tricky one. And Brie and I were talking about this, and we're not exactly experts in it. We do have an expert coming on the No Guilt Mom podcast, but we thought it would be beneficial if you knew how we handled it in our houses.
Yes. So again, by no means are we experts on this topic. And if you would like to hear an expert, we have Brittany McBride, and she is going to be featured on our July 29th episode, which is actually, I think, episode number 98, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully my number is right. And she is an expert on this topic, and we're going to have some real diving in deep, because I'll admit, this topic makes me squirmy. Every time we brought it up, I'd be like, ew.
And it does not make me squirmy, but I have a backstory too, why it doesn't make me squirmy.
Yeah, so tell us how you got that backbone on this, because it's just, I don't know if it's my Southern Baptist upbringing that made me nervous about this, but
I was a 5th grade teacher, and we had to teach human growth and development every year. And, with the girls, it was easy because they're like, I'm a girl. But then, we all had female teachers. So one of us had to take the boys.
Nobody wanted that job, huh?
Oh, my gosh. Can you imagine, guys? 10-year-old boys, 30. No, it was more than 30 because we put all of them in one room. It was 55 10-year-old boys getting the human growth and development talk. And here in Arizona, it is an abstinence state. So you don't actually teach anything of consequence, but you do teach anatomy. And so it was basically me reading from this binder. You have to read it verbatim as a teacher because they don't want lawsuits. You have to read it verbatim, and you're basically trying to deliver it straight-faced because
you can't show any fear, man.
No, you can't show any fear whatsoever. And the boys, if one starts laughing, they all go.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
So I had to, at the beginning of every lesson, I'm like, okay, now, you're going to want to laugh, but you can't laugh. You need to bite your cheek to laugh, because that could get out of hand so fast. When you have 55 10-year-old boys in one classroom, real fast. That could get out of hand real fast. So you have to do a little proactive measures there. But it wasn't bad. And they all submitted questions. They had to write them on a card and submit them in a jar. And then I was only allowed to answer the questions that were mentioned in the lesson. And we always found out ways a little bit around things to get the kids some information that they desperately needed.
Really? Like any juicy bits you remember? This sounds very interesting to me.
I can't, it was 8 years ago.
Yeah.
But it was one of those oh, hey, how does this work? And I don't even remember. Okay. I can't even think of an exact
I'm going to throw this out. I was just
explanation.
having this conversation with a friend over the weekend. Mm-hmm. At this age, 5th grade, is when I would start to hear the my balls hurt conversation. Really? And as a woman, I'm like, oh, go talk to your dad.
Yeah, I didn't get those.
I don't know, but
I didn't get those. But
oh wow. Okay, I may have gotten a little TMI there.
I've never been afraid of the sex conversations, and I look at it as a very it's an informational thing, and it's completely natural and it's completely normal, and I never wanted it to be shameful. ever. Because I think that's how a lot of us were raised. I mean, you say your Southern Baptist upbringing.
Oh, yeah. You didn't talk about sex.
Yeah.
Sex didn't really happen. And if you were going to have sex, you were marrying your true love, and then you were married, and then you had sex. And there was absolutely no gray area there.
Yeah.
None whatsoever.
Nothing.
So I will admit that I do not recall ever having a conversation about sex with my parents. Not one.
I really
love you guys, but no, don't remember that conversation.
I really didn't. I had one that I like pushed off and off and off and off, and they just wanted to make sure I understood the mechanics of things. And once they knew that, they were like, "You're good." And then the rest I learned from TV, magazines, and books.
Isn't that where most kids get them? Like, seriously.
And there was some stuff like, I think we had a class in college and everybody wanted to take this class. It was called the Human Sexual Behavior. It was a psychology class. And that class was full every semester. But it was so interesting, and it really gave you the psychology behind sex, the shame behind sex, as well as like some of the proclivities about it. And so like through that as well.
Yeah.
Once you have the language to talk about it, it becomes less shameful.
Hey, all, Bree here, and I wanted to share one of my favorite gifts to give during the holiday season, a Storyworth book. It is the most amazing gift ever. Storyworth is an online service that lets you create a special and unique gift of someone's story. I've given Storyworth books to both of my parents, and it has been their favorite gift, hands down. And did I mention it is so easy? Storyworth emailed my parents questions every week that I handpicked from their massive list of questions that they have. All my parents had to do was open their email and answer them. That easy. I asked my dad questions like, did you have any rules that you set for yourself as a parent, which you immediately broke? And he did. I even asked both of my parents, are you more like your mom or your dad? And they shared a lot of really amazing qualities that I didn't know about my grandparents at the time. Then at the end of the year, Storyworth compiles all of their answers, puts them into this gorgeous book that covers everything. My parents love showing us their books, and I personally love getting a chance to read them. With Storyworth, I am giving those I love a thoughtful and personal gift from the heart that preserves their memories and stories for years to come. Go to storyworth.com/NGM and save $10 on your first purchase. That's storyworth.com/NGM to save $10 on your first purchase.
My son is playing a game right now on his computer where he's a thief and the cops are after him. So I'm so excited about this new app, Give As We Grow, where instead of being the quote unquote bad guys, kids are practicing giving back.
That is so cool, Joanne. I really wish that there was something like this when my kids were younger that got them excited about giving back to others and helped them build a better understanding of what it really means to volunteer.
Give As We Grow is the first of its kind free educational mobile app for children ages 8 to 11 that teaches kids via fun, service-focused minigame quests to tap into their unique talents and interests to help others.
And did you know that studies show that there is a biological connection between generosity and happiness, and that volunteering improves people's physical and mental health? I mean, kids who volunteer typically do better in school and are less likely to engage in risky behaviors. And that is something that I think we all want for our kids.
Ready to spark a new movement in generosity? Find and download Give As We Grow for free in the App Store for Android and iOS. And for resources for the whole family, visit giveaswegrow.org.
I think it's interesting looking at what you're comfortable with and looking at all the things that impact you. So like both of us, our upbringing had an impact on how we handled sex and the conversation with our kids. And I would say with me too, like I had a very frank conversation about body parts and things like that when my kids were little, because again, I was early childhood. So what did that involve as when my kids were little? Well, we used different words for body parts versus body functions. And I was really big too on using the anatomy words. So like my son had a penis, my daughter had a vagina, and you didn't go wee-wee out of your wee-wee because I felt like that was very confusing.
Yeah.
But I will admit that like, you know, once the bigger questions started to come in, like, and I would say they probably started in our household around third grade-ish. Then it started with the whole like, what is sex? What is kissing? What does it mean when you like somebody? What does it mean when you like somebody? You know, moving forward. And that's where I started to get the whole like,
Really?
just don't get, oh, look at that tree over there. It's so pretty. Changing the topic.
Oh.
Because I just didn't feel like I was ready to have the conversation.
Yeah.
And I will say, out of that, like one of my kids kind of went off to find things on their own and found some things. And thank goodness we still had a good relationship that when she found some stuff, she came talking about it. I'm like, okay, let's have a conversation about that. But it still makes me nervous, even though I have had a sex conversation with my kids now. And my son, I was telling you, he just had his well check the other day and he was 14. And the doctor was like, point blank asked, like, do you know the mechanics of this? And then she looked at me and was like, this is a conversation that has to happen. Because he's still very like, people say I like you. He like covers his face.
Oh.
But the point being is that you can't get around it, right?
Yeah.
It's going to come out.
It's going to come out. And the way I approach it is that if you have one conversation, it's putting way too much pressure on that one conversation.
Right? And we all
It
I think that growing up, like, again, watching TV and media and whatnot, it was always about the birds and bees conversation. And it's not one conversation.
No, it's like, our conversations in our house with my kids started from a very young age when they were just naturally curious. And they would just ask me questions. And like at 6, I would just answer their questions as they asked them and as simply as possible. Because I didn't want to evade their questions. I didn't want any shame attached to their questions. And I always, if I answered it simply, they would come with follow-up questions if they didn't understand what I meant. And then I know that I needed to go in a little bit farther and deeper. But like the other thing that really gets to me is like, I never want my kids to be in the position where another kid knows more about sex than them, because I think that's a way for them to be influenced by those kids. Nor do I want them to be in a situation where another kid has really bad information about it.
And they think that that's true.
Yeah, and they think that that's true. And so, like, I always think about that because I remember in middle school, like, oh my gosh, one of my friends had really bad information about it. And she would, like, tell me all these things. And I'm like, I don't think that's right. She's like, no, this is right. I'm like, no.
I don't think it means what you think it means.
I don't think that means, but... I mean, I've had conversations with other friends too. I remember we were on a boating trip once and one of the other moms in our friend group could not believe the amount that my kids knew because she had not talked to her son about anything like that. And she thought he was innocent. I know this kid. He's not. He's not. Like yeah.
That's a bite in the cheek moment where you're like, don't laugh.
Don't laugh. It's so hard. It's hard because kids... they know more than you think they know. And I think it's just best to be honest and just tell them really like the whole going back to the question, learned what a C-section is and that he was born the old fashioned way vaginally. I mean, telling that process. Yep. The baby comes out of the vagina. And sometimes babies can't do that. And I tell my kids all the time, I'm like, you guys were upside down. So they cut a hole in my stomach and brought you out that way.
Both of my kids were C-section too, because I had an eventful pregnancy, the first one with placenta previa. And then the second one, my pregnancies were just too close together. And so my kids know all about that. And I do think that it's important to do exactly what you just said. You answer their questions honestly. So if you're not ready for the questions, we will tell you this, that in general, kids start asking once they start getting around other kids.
Yeah.
So that might be preschool for your kid. That might be kindergarten. I mean, once they start talking, they start talking. And we can't say it's going to magically happen at 5 or 6 or 7 or 10, but it'll start. And so answering the questions does help because it also brings that they know they can come to you for real, truthful answers. That's really important because we all know good information, bad information, it doesn't matter. Everyone's going to have questions about sex. Yeah. And they're going to need to have a trusted person that they can go to when they're scared or worried or confused about something. And I think as all parents, we would like to have them be able to come to us.
Yeah. And they don't want to think that they're making you uncomfortable because kids are very aware of that. Like I knew my parents are probably a little uncomfortable talking to me about it. And so, I don't know. I think that's just something I learned when I was teaching 5th graders. Like, don't show your fear.
Don't show your fear.
Don't show your fear.
They can smell it.
They can smell your fear.
Well, I mean, it's important because like you were saying, like providing it to them and showing them that you can be comfortable having this conversation lets them know that they can be comfortable with this.
Yeah.
That this topic isn't something to hide.
No, it's not to hide. And it's good to just be informed and know. And that's actually been shown to prevent like teen pregnancies.
Right.
It's like the more information that kids have, the better they do because they're not experimenting to find out for themselves. I mean, that's such a common misconception.
Right.
I think information is always power, and the relationship you have with your kids is always power. So as long as you kind of keep those in the forefront, you'll do fine with the sex talk.
Well, and it's interesting. Another thing about the sex talk that I have utilized recently, I don't know if there's any fans of This Is Us out there. I'm sure there are. Many people do. And oh gosh, which character was it where him and his wife, Beth, they do the whole like worst case scenario? Randall and Beth. They do that worst case scenario to each other. I started doing that with Miguel whenever I have to talk about something that makes me nervous. And I'll be like, yeah, I'm really nervous about this. He's like, why? I'm like, okay. And I just blurt it all out because I'm afraid that this is going to happen and then this is going to happen and then this is going to happen. And you know where I'm going to end. And then my kids are going to end up living in a van down by the river.
The van down by the river.
And he's like, okay, that's a lot to unpack. Let's start backing up. And then we can start addressing each one of those fears. And we can have a conversation about, why am I so scared about having this conversation? Why I'm so scared about this conversation because I'm afraid that if I talk about this to my kid, it's going to make him feel uncomfortable and he's going to hide his head and then not want to come talk to me anymore. And he's like, well, yeah, okay, but is it better to send him out there without any knowledge?
Yeah.
No, you're right. It's not. So then, like, you know, we talked about it. And depending upon the age of the kids, you know another great idea I think too for this area? There is a lot of great books on this. Everything from picture books for early education kiddos all the way up to like anatomy type books. That's a great thing to do too. And I was talking with you about this the other day. Like when I get nervous about something in life, I tend to find a book and I read something on it. I don't get through the whole book, people. I'm not that good.
You look to see what chapters look really good to you, and then you read the chapters.
And I read what I need until I feel like confident in the skill, and then I move forward. You know, like out of my two kids, one of my kids is a talker and experiencer. The other one likes books and analytics and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, hey, when we had to get to the more in-depth conversation, remember, we're talking about a kid that's in junior high. I offered a book. Do you want to read a book? And then like have like a discussion group about it after?
Yeah.
Granted, he said no on that one, but I know that there are other kids that has worked really well too. So if it's something that you aren't the most comfortable with or that your child is a little bit shy about, you can still talk about it, answer the questions. But I mean, you can use books as helpful tools too, I think.
Yeah, I think books are a really great tool. Or like your partner too is a really great tool.
Yes.
Especially if like you're the mom listening and you have a son and you don't feel exactly comfortable talking about that anatomy, like
you offload that to their dad if you can. I certainly would. And I am 100% an advocate too of, like we talked about, using the words. Although I will tell you a funny story. I did have a child, and it doesn't matter. Okay, I'm going to back this up with, you tell your kids whatever words to use for their anatomy, but the actual words are better because trust me, eventually they're going to get that bad information about what that word actually means. And so whatever. But I remember teaching, you know, again, my daughter vagina, my son penis, and sure enough, middle of the grocery store checkout line, nice sweet old lady says hi to my kid, and she tells her she has a beautiful vagina and asks if she wants to see it. So like, it doesn't matter what you're teaching your kids, they're going to find the most quiet moment in church when, like, you know, moment of silence, they'll say, my penis hurts. I don't know. They're going to yell
shared
out.
this before because my dad and mom taught me these correct terms. And I was 3 years old and we went to a museum actually in San Diego in Balboa Park. We walked into the room with all the apes and I said very loudly, Daddy, look at all those penises. And my dad has told that story to everyone. So you know what?
Glorious.
Teaching the correct vocabulary, you're going to have stories for ages.
I know, right? Endless hours of conversational fun.
Yes. My dad actually told the story to my kids too. So my kids bring that up to me as well.
Yeah. So again, like our main point of this, to kind of to recap for you guys, is that kids are going to typically start asking about this once they start getting around other kids. That's when you got to start prepping for it because it's going to come.
Yeah.
Be open.
Be open honest about it. Be honest.
Don't show fear.
And if you do show fear, you could be like, because there are times when the questions were asked at very inopportune moments. So don't think you have to answer them right away.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we walked into a Fry's, into the grocery store, and that's when my son's like, when do babies cup rub? And I'm like, let's hold that thought and let's talk about it when we're outside of the grocery store.
Yeah. I mean, and it's okay to say, like, because it's just not a conversation that I want to have while I'm trying to do shopping. I want to be able to give you my full attention.
Yep, exactly.
You can say that it's a conversation you'd rather have in private, and that's fine too, because there are such things as boundaries. Some things are considered impolite in certain families. And I say that very, very loosely, people. You do what works for your family. Yes. You do what works for your family. And if your family decides that's not an outside outside of the house conversation, then you just tell your kid, this is something we talk about, but not outside the house. I mean, if that's what works for you.
I would feel there's some shame in that, saying that it's like not a public thing. I don't know if I would go that way, but that's just me and my very like sensitivity to shame. I would say like maybe like in the car.
Yeah. Okay, well, in the car, yes.
Or in the car, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I guess outside the house is a little bit like
like
confining when I say it that way. I guess I just mean it as I wouldn't want my kid, if it makes me uncomfortable, I don't want to be uncomfortable when I'm in the middle of something else. Like, don't ask me when I'm in line at the post office. I'm happy to talk to you about it at certain places, but it's not here.
Yeah.
So every time you ask me at the post office, I'm going to say, no, we're not going to chat about this right now.
Yeah, it's like, I don't want to have this conversation right now around other people, like listening in.
Right.
I want to make sure you have my full attention.
That's what I think is, that's your out, people.
You have your full attention.
You want my full attention. So that's something, be honest with the terms. I feel like that's something that we have heard too when we were talking with Brittany. You need to just be honest. And you know what? Another great thing too that you'll hear when you have that episode that I've taken and it's in my bank, so I'm going to say it anyways right now. It's okay to say, I don't know. I don't know that answer, but let's look it up.
Yep.
So that your kids know that you don't go down to the other kid at the end of the street who is getting his information from his older brother or older sister.
Who's totally wrong.
Right. Who has no idea what they're talking about. Goodness gracious. Yeah. The things. Think back to your own childhood, the stuff that you thought was right that you got wrong. Oh, Lordy.
But look for that episode with Brittany. It is such a good one, and you're going to come away from it with so many great takeaways. And we hope that our experience in this, seeing like we're coming at from two different perspectives, me who's pretty comfortable about it, Bree who's not so comfortable about it.
A little squeamish. We'll say Bree's still a little squeamish.
And we still get through it, and it's okay.
Yes.
It is okay. So until next time, remember, the best mom's a happy mom. Take care of you. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks for stopping by.
Are you looking for something to listen to with your whole family? Then check out 6 Minutes, produced and created by Gen Z Media. With over 200 twisty, cliffhanger-filled episodes, 6 Minutes tells the story of 11-year-old Holiday who was pulled from the icy waters with no memory of who she is or where she came from.
3 years ago, Brinley Pasternak helped the Anders family uncover the truth about Holiday's past. Now she'll need them to help her find the truth about hers. In 6 Minutes Out of Time, the long-awaited sequel, Cyrus Anders is found unconscious near the mysterious Elixir Academy in Florida, and Brinley learns the school may have a shocking connection to her missing mother.
Dive in now and get the most downloaded family audio adventure in history. Follow 6 Minutes wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen early and ad-free with the GZM family subscription.